Okay, we're going to be working on my 64 Impala 4-door hardtop. Today we're going to be putting another steering wheel on it. But just so you know what the car is, 64 4-door hardtop, 340 horse 409, air conditioned. It's dirty because we drive it a lot. Anyway, I've got an inside remote mirror. Put a tilt wheel in it from a 68-72 Chevy pickup. Worked pretty darn good. Tack, air conditioning, rear defrost, power windows. So, very nice driving car. Also got a numbers matching positive traction rear end and 4-wheel disc brakes. Borgeson steering box with a modified mount. So I have the big sway bar down there, the 1 1/8" sway bar. You can see it down there. The big radiator and power steering, and everything fits. Which Borgeson neglects to tell you that, hey, if you have power steering, you may need to relocate your power steering pump. Well, that wasn't an option. Anyway, that's what we're working on. So we are going to put this new American Retro steering wheel, 64 Impala 15-inch, in place of the original 17-inch. These are the tools we're going to use. 3/4 inch deep socket, extension, ratchet. I'm going to need these pliers to modify things, and these to deal with the steering wheel. So let's get started with that. I'm going to stick these in here like that, and I'll show you how this all works. Sorry for the phone. So, first of all, you got to get the horn button off. And I just take a little screwdriver to get in here. It does clip on there real good. It's an aftermarket or a new one. So it does clip on really good. Whoops, I forgot. I was going to show you what's in the box over here. So this is how it comes, like that. Oops. Comes like this. Ignore the dirt that just got on the top. Comes with a generic button. Looks a lot like the original, but they didn't want to pay the money to license the original button. So that's the way that comes. So we can put that down in there, that down in there. And then, first thing I noticed was the spring for the horn button is in here. And I thought, feels really light. I wonder why that's out here and not in the steering wheel, because as you can see, the hardware's in the steering wheel. So that was my first indication there might be some modification that needs to be done. So, first thing to do is take this apart and make sure all the pieces are here and what pieces are here. Because you want to know what you're getting. First thing I see is these screws are not correct. They should be a washered screw. It does have that. And this piece. And then, oh, there's another spring in here. Why is that? Well, come to find out, there's 2 springs because they are extremely thin and not nearly as strong as the original one. But when you put them both together, they seem to be adequate. Now, let me get something. I'm going to be taking the steering wheel off. Okay, I'm back. So, since I know these attaching screws are not correct, they should be a bigger head. I'm going to take these little number 8 washers and put under them. That'll represent more of what the factory had for this application. So now, after I get these on, we're going to go in the car and take the steering wheel off. Okay, so now that we have the horn button off, I've already had this off, so it's not tight, but you break this loose, take the nut off, but not all the way. What you want to do, there you know my horn works. What you want to do is push down on the steering wheel against this load spring, and then you can take the nut loose, but you don't want to take it off all the way. Because what you want to do is plant your feet firmly on the floorboard, go put your body straight like this, grab this, and then work this back and forth until it pops off of like that. It'll pop off of the taper shaft. Then it's loose, you can push it back down like that and take the nut and washer off. And this is the way it should come off, all in one piece, just like that. So now, everything's nice and, I gotta tighten that up. Give me that screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver out there. It's a good time to make sure everything's tight, and this needs to be tightened up apparently. There we go, that's better. Anyway, again, this is out of tilt wheel is out of a 67 to 72 Chevy pickup. I did it about 20 years ago, so before they were worth $800 a piece. But all I had to do to make this fit is shorten this trim piece on the column. I shortened it like that to where it fit up against this, and it looks like it's a factory column. So saves me spending all that money on an original one. But anyway, now that we have this apart, and you can see how big the head on these screws are. This is what they should have. This is an original setup here. This car came out of Wyoming. It's almost completely rust-free. We've had it for, 25 years or something. But anyway, here are the parts, the original parts. You have the similar plastic piece there. This is the original, and it has these 3 notches in it, so it locates itself on this original ring. So, what I've got to do now is figure out if this is going to work on that. So, my first indication is when I put this together, get those okay, and then you put this, this doesn't have notches, I've never seen one with a flat thing, and it feels kind of thick. And so I compared the two, and I thought, well, that is thicker. It's thicker by, 3/32. I mean, this is thicker than that, the original one. So I wonder what the heck that's all about. Then I thought, well, if that's thicker, this piece has to be thicker. And lo and behold, it is taller by about that same 3/16. So that's going to be a difference we're going to have to deal with. Then, but if it's all the same, it should work, right? That's what we're going with. So if we put all this together, drop those down in, when we drop this down in, this should show me that the horn ring compresses properly and springs properly and will activate the horn. And you don't torque these down, you just take them down just enough. And there we are, that should be set up. So now I take the wheel and I try and honk the horn. I'm going, there's no tension on that. That's rattly, there's no tension. What the heck is the deal? There's no spring action at all. If I put these pieces back in the original steering wheel, Okay, so here's my original pieces for the original wheel. I've got my original spring tension ring. Got this activator ring. I put this back on here like this. That new steering wheel should work just like this old one, just like the original one. That's the way it's supposed to work, right? Okay, look at this. Nice tension, not rattly. It's got spring tension when you go straight down. Hear it? That's pushing that spring ring, tension ring, up and down. That's the way it's supposed to sound and look. Equal tension on both sides so the horn will work. So what the heck is going on? Well, after switching parts around, trying these parts in that steering wheel, didn't work. Same thing, no tension. Combination of parts from the original with parts of the new didn't work. No tension. So we got these pieces off, and I'm inspecting. Okay, what makes the tension on this thing? Where are we getting this lack of tension on this aftermarket wheel? And I'll show you what I found and how to fix it, because it's not made correctly, just like most aftermarket parts. And this double spring does provide about the same tension as the single heavier. Well, not quite. It's not nearly as heavy. I might use this just because what else am I going to do? I will probably use this if I can. So here is what I found. This edge right here is what this is supposed to sit on, and it's supposed to sit above this raised notch around the center, and that's what activates the horn. You're supposed to be able to push it down. But I'll show you on the original. You have this raised edge, but there's a raised edge around here, and it's a good 1/16 of an inch or more on both of those. This has it on the inside, but not on the outside. It's flat. It's dead flat. Manufacturing error. That isn't going to work. There's no way you can use that in that configuration and make either one of these springs work. So I thought, well, what can I do? I need to shim that out. So I thought, well, if I get the right gauge of wire, that would work. And I happen to have this coated rebar tie wire that they're all using now with the coated rebar. It came off a job, and you can probably get it at Lowe's and Home Depot. So I cut a ring of it and fit it in here like this. Now I've got a little lip in there. Now I can put, let's go with these regular parts, the parts that came with the wheel. So let's put this in there. Okay, that. Now I have some movement in there like I'm supposed to. So let's use this piece. Get that piece put in there. Then we put the horn ring on that came with the wheel. I'll move this here. And we snug the screws down like we're supposed to. I know I'm using a straight screwdriver on Phillips screws, but there's no torque going on here. There's just snug. So anyway, there we go. Now, what do I have? Hardly any movement there. A whole bunch of movement here. And still don't have spring action. So I'm thinking, okay, what's causing that? As it turns out, because I raised up that spring ring with the wire, so it takes the place of the raised edge on the original steering wheel, this ends up being too thick. The extra thickness on this is too thick. So I thought, okay, let's just try the original one, see how it works. We put the original one in there, put that in there, get these to go down in there right. You got to make sure that these holes are centered okay. There's a lot of leeway, but they have to be centered pretty good when you put this on. Okay, so that should, there we go. Come on, get in there. There we go. Just snug. You don't want to over tighten these. Just make them snug so it holds the wheel in place. That feels good. Now look what we have. Decent. It moves farther this way than it does this way, which isn't quite right, but at least that will activate the horn. The other thing I want to say is, can you collapse it this way? Hear that? Now the horn will actually work. So you use the original thin activator ring against the spring rings, if that's all you have. If you don't have an original, you could always file one side of this down. Just take it on some sandpaper and get it to go down. Now, because I have the option of all these original parts, I am going to use my original tension ring with the original activator ring, and I'm not sure those are the right words, but that's what I'm calling it, because even with this doubled up, it doesn't have the tension that the original does. I hope you can hear that, because it's almost double, I would say, tension. So I'm going to use this original one with the original ring and the notches. And because of the configuration of this wheel, I have to use the longer 3-screw mounting piece that goes with this. And actually I might even use my original screws, because I like original stuff. But there we go. There we go. There we go. Now, what do we have? Huh. Hey, that feels just like the original one now. There you go. That's what you're going to have to do with this American Retro steering wheel to make it work. A combination of parts. These do look identical. I mean, mounting wise. Actually, I like this one better, but that's gonna go to somebody that doesn't care for the Impala sign. But anyway, this snaps right in just like it should. I like to help that so you don't break the rivets on that, but there you go. That's the way it looks, and I'll show you, since I'm gonna go ahead and install this right now. Yeah, it's on there. I'm gonna go ahead and use what's here, because these screws are probably longer than these. And I don't want to, yeah, they're They're probably longer. Let's find out. This is a Chevology, let's learn about Chevys thing. Okay, so, oh, those screws are exactly the same length. So I would recommend a number 8 flat washer. You can get them at the hardware store to put on these if this is all you have to use. But since this is my car and I'm gonna use almost everything that was original in it. So there we go. There we go. Now, the reason I had the side cutters and the Phillips screwdriver is obviously you're supposed to use a Phillips screwdriver on all this. But I don't need to with this little one. And this was just to grab this out of the steering wheel. So that's not a big deal. And then obviously the side cutters to cut the wire to make that piece. But if you're... Oh, the other thing about this, one other thing. The hole in this is smaller than the hole in the original. So this all has to be in place on the wheel before you install the wheel. If you're just doing work on it and you want to take the horn pieces off, you wouldn't be able to get this off because this diameter is too small. But if you assemble the whole thing and then put it on the car, so all you got to do is make sure that this is in about the 1:30, 2 o'clock position, so it fits in the back of the wheel. Kind of guide it on. I'm guiding it on with these fingers over here. And there it is. Oops. Kind of lame right now. Maybe the battery's low. But anyway, I gotta get this pushed on like that. So I can, you gotta rock this and push it onto the steering column. And this mounts, it mounts on this column exactly the same as it does on an original 64 Impala column. There's no difference at all. What I did gain by using this later model column is I gained 4-way flashers over here, which is nice. So put this on, and there, we're done. Now we have a nice smaller steering wheel, gives you more room, because my son drives this a lot and he's about 285 pounds. But I've got full tilt action, and that's what I wanted to see. I'm gonna have to work on that. I have to clean some contacts in there probably. Did I leave my screwdriver over there? Give me my little screwdriver. Maybe I will see if I can clean that contact. I'm going to pull this off, clean that contact, because horn usually works better than that. So that's what you got to do to get it off. Okay, plant your feet and rock it back and forth. Oh, you're not cooperating. Oh, it's loose. I was working too hard. I didn't tighten it down all the way. Anyway, always leave the nut on so you don't pull this back up into your chest and give yourself a fat lip. Okay, so what I want to do, let's clean this up. Clean this see this contact right here? It's really dirty. So I'm going to clean that. I'm going to scrape that. I have my knife. This appears to be fairly clean. Normally I would get a little piece of sandpaper, but this just aluminum on the top of this. Just want to make sure that is making good contact on the bottom of that activator ring. So let's try this now. No, look at there, it went on. All right, so now get it pushed on, hold it with one hand, get your nut and washer with the other, and come on. And what I like to do when I do these is I like to push them all the way on and then finger tight that nut. Then I'll go out and drive the car and make sure this is exactly straight. Because if it isn't, I'll just got to push it down, take the nut back, take the nut off, flip the wheel up and adjust it. So that's my little trick for making sure they're adjusted. Well, I'll have to work on that a little later, but that's how you put what you have to do to make these this 64 retro wheel work. I also bought one for my 62 and my 58 Impalas and my 58 Cameo and my 68 Impala. I bought a Corvette wood teak wheel for it, the 3-spoke. Hopefully I won't have that problem with them, but if I do, I'll figure it out. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.